In this video, we are going to be going over the Wednesday column for the week 6 independent practice. And the Wednesday column is just different from the Tuesday column in the sense that we are going to be summing. We're going to be determining the sum of the expressions rather than the difference. And so for this one, we aren't going to have to do any sort of keep, change in between the expressions. They're all going to have an addition problem. But we're still going to do the same 3 steps. We simplify these expressions down by doing the 3 steps of keep, change, which means this is how we turn a subtraction problem into an addition problem. It's a lot easier to, if we had something like 3 minus negative 5, it's definitely, I think we can all agree, a lot easier to add a positive 5, or just 3 plus 5, than to subtract a negative 5. So that's why we do the keep, change, not necessarily because we have to, but because it's just a little easier to understand it when we do. Step 2, and after that, is going to be to check for the distributive property. Not all problems are going to require the distributive property, but if they do, we'll need to do that before we finish it up with our last step of adding our like terms. So those are the 3 steps that we're going to take in order to solve these out. Maybe write that down somewhere on your paper so that you can also knock that out. So I'm going to go ahead and do those 3 steps here. I'm going to look for any subtraction. I don't seem to have any subtraction. I've only got additions here. These are negative signs, not minus signs. So we are good on the keep, change. So next I'm going to do my distributive property, which means to take the numbers outside of the parentheses and distribute them into the numbers inside of the parentheses, or the terms inside of the parentheses. And so in order to do that, I'm going to do, for this first one, negative 2 times x, which is negative 2x, and then negative 2 times y, that is going to be a negative 2y, plus 3 times negative 6x is negative 18x, and then plus 3 times 2y is going to be a 6y. So now that I've done my distributive property, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my like terms together. So that's going to be my negative 2x and my negative 18x are a set of like terms because they both have the term x attached, the variable x, and then negative 2y and 6y are also like terms because they both have the y's attached. So when we add those guys together, negative 2x's plus negative 18x's is going to give me negative 20x's plus negative 2y plus 6y is going to be a 4y. So all in all, we get that negative 20x plus 4y. That is the answer for this first one. Just a reminder that we can't solve out for expressions. We can only simplify them down as much as possible because we don't know what this expression is set equal to. This isn't an equation where we can actually solve out for the variable. This is just an expression where we can only simplify all the way down. So just keep that in mind. We're going to do the same kind of steps, those 3 steps for these next problems. I'm going to leave, and we can knock these out together. Let's go ahead and do the second one. So we do have a minus sign here, right there between the 3x and the negative 4. So I'm going to change that. Instead of subtracting negative 4, I'm going to add a positive 4. And then another thing to notice is that when we do the distributive property, which is going to be our second step, this isn't just a negative sign. This is technically a negative 1. But we make that 1 invisible because we know that it's there. We know that technically, yes, that if we had just x, that's technically a 1x. And so that negative sign, that's technically a negative 1. And that negative 1, we're going to distribute it to the terms inside of my parentheses. We're going to do the distributive property. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3, and then the x stays. So that's negative 3x, plus negative 1 times what is now a positive 4 is going to be a negative 4. And then plus 2 times x, which is 2x, and then 2 times 12, which is 24. Following that, we're going to add our like terms. So that's the negative 3x and the 2x, and then the negative 4 and the 24. The negative 3x plus the 2x is going to give me a negative x because we have 3 negative x's. We've got 3 negative x's and 2 positive x's. And so, And so that means that my negative x's and my positive x's are going to cancel out, which leaves me with just a negative x. And then negative 4 plus 24, different sign, subtract. 24 minus 4 is 20. Bigger number is positive, so my answer is going to be negative x plus 20. Moving on to question number 3. First thing that I notice is that I don't have any subtraction. So I don't need to do any keep, change, but what might intimidate you a little bit is that we got some decimals going on. But hopefully you're getting a little bit more comfortable now as the semester progresses. So I'm going to go ahead and start off. I don't have any distributive property here. I only have it at this initial part. So I'm going to do 3 and 2/10 times 2x and 3 and 2/10 times 4s, different variable there. 3.2 times 2. What's the easy mental way of doing this? Well, because this is going to be 3.2 times 2, technically this is kind of like doing 32 times 2, or twice of 32, which is 64. And then because there's one number in the decimals area, one number past the decimal, we're only going to move this decimal in one time, which is going to give me a 6.4. And that kind of makes sense because if it was $3.20, twice of $3.20 is $6.40. So just kind of try to get some mental math, kind of have that become part of your routine so that you can work through things a little bit more quickly, and then it'll become fluent for you. 3.2 times 4, well, you could do 3 times 4, which is 12, and then 0.2 times 4, which is 0.8, or 2/10 times 4 is 8/10, and then don't forget the s, plus negative 5 and 6/10 x, plus negative 2 and 4/10 s. Let's go ahead and add all like terms, so that's 6 and 4/10, and then we don't have any other numbers that don't have variables, so we're just going to drop down that 6 and 4/10. Then we've got 12 and 8/10 s plus negative 2 and 4/10 s. We're going to go ahead and, because they're different signs, we're going to subtract them. That's going to leave us with a 10 and 4/10 s positive, because the bigger number is positive. And then the very last thing that we're just going to bring straight down is this negative 5 and 6/10 x, because there is no other x variables to add this to. So there's no other like terms. And so then that's going to be my final answer. 6 and 4/10 plus 10 and 4/10 s plus 5 and 6/10 x. Okay, so that just about sums it up for the part 1 of this video. We'll go ahead and knock out